Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mastering the Drop, a real view of recovery. We are going to be continuing our focus because if you've been following along, you know that we've been focusing on what our bodies go through in any recovery process and the damage that we didn't know we were doing or creating. So today I have my very good friend, Marcy, here with us, and we are going to be talking about how both of us, because we both have common stories, but very different stories, but we have stories of how we've actually been able to repair our physical functioning, reduce our pain and inflammation, as well as discover some very beautiful emotional stances to step into while we've been doing it. So we have some really real life stuff here for you today. And I just want you to know that, again, the entire motive here is to give you some amazing little seeds, the right seeds for you so that you can sow your own garden of wellness, whatever that might look like for you, because we want it to be in your vision, not ours. We want you to be able to add, edit, delete, make it your own, and flourish in your own light, right? So I'm going to bring Marcy on here in just a minute, but when I'm talking about that add, edit, delete, make it your own, I want you guys to be thinking in broader perspectives. We're not solely talking about how can I do what somebody else did exactly to the T and have it be effective for me. Because, and I think Marcy will definitely validate or mirror this thought, that what works well for somebody else doesn't always work well for me or for you, right? Just like, not everybody needs to go to a 30, 60, 90-day inpatient residential treatment to recover from an addiction to alcohol. There are different levels of severity and people need different things. Just the same as coming home from, say, an addiction treatment facility, it's not always a good fit for somebody to solely rely on the social supports of AA or NA. Some people need to, have other things, and a lot of people benefit greatly. I know because I did, as do all of my clients, benefit greatly from having a coach who can be active in their day-to-day life and help them learn how to add, edit, delete, and make it their own, but also learn those practical tactics that are seated in psychology and learn how to actually experience their environment, those stressors that happen every single day, experience that in a way that is palatable, right? We can process it, we can sit in it, we can move through it. And so anyway, before I get lost down some rabbit hole, we're not talking just about, an addiction to a chemical substance. We're talking about our relationship to food. We're talking about being married to the diet culture. We're talking about, having a healthy diet that's not necessarily that healthy, and how much are we listening to our own body and how it's responding to the fuel that we're putting in, and a recovery from, needing anything outside of ourselves to bring us peace, joy, comfort, and relief. Because even our people-pleasing tendencies, is seeking something outside of ourselves, right? Like we're thinking, gosh, if I could just be everything for that person, that organization, that whatever it is, then they're going to see my value, and then I can feel validated in my life. And that's not the way it works. It's backwards, right? So for those of you who don't know my story and don't know much about, the topic that's at hand today, which is healing from, chronic pain that is, I guess we'll call it onset or instigated by, autoimmune issues. I've lived a pretty long life of just shifting and shape shifting into, they literally keep changing my diagnosis since I was 18 years old of different things. It's no longer that, it's this. It's no longer that, it's this. And so, I keep getting these new different, symptoms and issues and this and that. And along the way, and I'm just going to go with the last 8 years, they've been, and this is not a bash on my providers. They're specialists, you know, I get it. And we all have our first case of whatever, but you know, it's that mentality of always, you know, just adding a, you know, a pill or a this or that to it. And anybody that listens to Melissa and I talk, and that's not Marcy, that's Melissa, Dr. Melissa, you know, we talk about, you know, being that productive advocate for yourself that says, I don't want to do this, you know, like this isn't, you know, well for me. I want to, you know, I want to try something, you know, different, something that's more natural. Anyway, so in my story, in my journey, if you know me and my relationship with food, I do a lot of, most of my pain management is done through the fuel that I eat. And it's about constantly staying in touch with what I call my food mood journal, right? Like it's that observational space where I get to keep track of, because just because nut butter works for me this week, some weeks it's too dense in healthy fats, right? And some weeks I can eat it with an apple and be totally fine. But then sometimes the fat and the fiber is too much. And I have to be willing to hear that. Otherwise I say, this is what I eat and I don't know what's wrong with me. Well, sure I do. I'm listening, I'm paying attention. I know how I felt before I ate it and I know how I felt afterwards. So my body's telling me I need a break, or I need less, or I need to make a change, or I need to make an adjustment. Anyway, let's bring Marcy on, because you know, you guys all know me. I'll talk your face off and you'll be like, I couldn't even keep up with you, lady. So Marcy is here, and Marcy has an amazing story also that is a personal journey of healing and restructuring and the creating of a beautiful emotional stance in her own life. So I'd like to introduce her and have her share some of her pieces. Hey, Marcy.
Hi, so great to be here.
So glad you're here.
I'm excited to meet some of these people online here, and if I can offer any solace, wisdom, inspiration, you know, whatever it takes to move people past their place where they may be stuck in their healing journey. And just, you know, a short version of my rather long healing journey will be that when I was very young, I was fit. I was an athletic, you know, skier, tennis player, cycling, always physically active. So I did not know that I had limitations at that point in my life. Right. There was nothing that could stop me from taking on double black diamond runs and playing tennis 3 times a day. Then fast forward to 19 years old, head-on collision, drunk driver. Unfortunately, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they totaled my parents' vehicle, which was a Volvo station wagon, by the way, like a tank, with a Volkswagen Beetle. Long story short, I was injured badly enough, but at a young age, that I thought I got over it pretty quick. And for the most part, I probably did, but I had some symptoms like TMJ, which is really tight jaw, broken teeth. I had a bad knee, I had concussion, and I had whiplash. And the whiplash was the worst. Like, if anybody's ever suffered that, I think people minimize that. You know, oh, you got whiplash, no biggie. It's a biggie. And the other part of this is that I was an actor. I was into dancing, musical theater. And so I was pushing the limits of what my body could do already with an injury that I didn't understand the long-term effects of ignoring. And in those days, you know, we're talking a long time ago now. I mean, 45, I don't know how many years ago, 50 years ago, not quite, 45 years ago. There wasn't the modalities that exist today that I was aware of. I mean, I remember chiropractic was sort of like voodoo, if you want to. It was, and nobody was talking about acupuncture or even massage therapy. So I just thought I would heal with time. And when then I was injured again at 25, a passenger, you know, situation, and there was nothing I could do about it. Same thing, a recurring whiplash. And then again, it happened 2 more times. So this poor little body of mine was now going into immediate reaction every time that happened, that I am now crippled up and started to affect me. And because I'm a workaholic, recovered, I will say recovered, In my background, it was always work, work, work. Don't worry about vacations. You'll take those when you have all the money you need. Well, that didn't work either, because when you don't take time out to rest and rejuvenate and, really let your body understand what it takes to recover, you got to listen to your body. And I was not listening. And the price I paid was, by the time I was 30, I remember going into a chiropractor's office then, and that's now 11 years after this injury, the first one. And they said, if you're not careful, you're going to end up with a humpback. Like you're on your way. Can you imagine being told that at like 29?
Yeah.
And it freaked me out. And because, I took pride in the fact that I was trim and slim and athletic and healthy in every way. And now this person was pointing out what my spine was doing. So I had the wake up call I needed then, and I still didn't respond very quickly. I hung in working my business until I burned out, and I worked so hard trying to make a career for myself. It was like, at the end of the day, if there was anything left over energetically to do exercise, I would literally talk myself out of it because it'll hurt, because it did. So
yeah.
We can make all kinds of excuses. And, like I didn't have a physiotherapist at that point or anybody to help coach me through. So I would say today we're in far better circumstances. When somebody is injured, whether in a car accident or any other way, there is so much available that there really should be no excuse at all for any of us to get back on that track. And I wish, I knew then what I know today. But after many, many years, and then, fast forward to about 45, somewhere in that age range, I was doing high volume catering, and I thought I was strong enough. Heavy lifting trays in and out of ovens and leaning over counters and chopping for 16 hours a day and rolling out dough. And the stress around the neck, shoulder area was just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And before I knew it, I was back into crisis. So another wake up call. And then I really had to start looking at modalities, and I did, that would heal me. And again, your comment about Western medicine, I have no criticism of doctors. They do their best with what they know. But when it came to chronic injuries, I was really not getting anything more than a prescription. And of course, being the natural girl that I am, I was like, nope, not doing any of that. I wouldn't even take an asprin, Tricia. Not even an aspirin. My husband would get mad at me and say, why aren't you taking an aspirin? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll ice it. I'll lay down. I'll stretch, go for a massage. But I have really proudly come to a place where at 65 now, can't believe I'm that age.
But I can't believe
I'm healthier today than I was in my 30s.
Yay.
So there's hope for anybody who has a desire, in my opinion, to do what's necessary and get the support, because that's the other part. I had to join a company, which at that time was magnetic therapy. And I saw so many incredible healings happening over those 6-7 years I was there, that I believed that anything could be healed. And today I know that. I know that for most people who've been told they have a lactose intolerance, or that they have severe allergies, or that they have sleep apnea, or whatever the thing is, they might believe that it's not curable, but I'm here to prove otherwise.
I agree, right? I agree completely that, we have this option, right? And I'm just going to bring in, because I know a lot of the moms that I work with and have worked with in the past, when I toss this out there, it's always a really relatable thing for them. But, so our child, they want to give them the label ADHD, right? So there's one example. I have another example, which is generally for people that have a substance abuse or a substance use disorder. When they go in, they get these labels. They get bipolar. They get, whatever it is, right? They get these labels. And so then they go on living, and it's, hi, my name is, and I have ADHD, or I'm I have bipolar. I'm an alcoholic. And we take on these labels like, oh, because we were diagnosed with it on, January of I don't know, 1980 in January, I showed symptoms of ADHD and bipolar. So that must mean that today in 2021, I'm still those things. And sure, if you buy into it and you adopt it and you own it, you will. Or, or we can say, okay, what are the symptomologies? What are the things that I'm exhibiting? What are the things that I'm experiencing? What are the attitudes and the behaviors? What are the processes that I'm doing that are creating this illustration, this outward illustration to this person that's assessing me? And what can I do to improve them, change them, and shift them into the light that I'd prefer to see them in or experience them in or whatever, right? I don't walk around and say, hi, my name is, and I'm an alcoholic. I don't walk around and say, hi, my name is, and I have, right? Or I don't say, whatever, right? Like I battle autoimmune. I used to be anorexic, right? Not even anorexic, right? I used to be anorexic. I used to struggle with body dysmorphia, all of these things. And it's all in past tense because I'm not going to carry it around with me throughout the rest of my life. Like it's, I don't know, what do they give you, gold stars or, whatever, as you move up the ranks, of something. It's not an achievement to have that label. In fact, it's a burden that we have the option of accepting and carrying around, or putting it on a shelf and examining it and saying, what can I do about this? What can I change? What can I improve? What is the process for removing this from my life? Because if we can remove alcohol, if we can improve our relationship with food, if we can stop having a shopping addiction, if we can quit overbooking our calendar, like we can change anything. We can even change our attachment disorders or, generalized anxiety disorder. There you go. I struggled with that, with panic for a long time. And anybody that's looked at maybe some of my more recent posts, like on International Panic Day or whatever it was, like I wrote in there, like I remember those days, but now I'm completely the opposite. I have to do mindset work around it, but I don't have those, the symptomology, right? I don't have the outward expression of anxiety and panic. I don't have the inward feeling of anxiety anymore, past a motivating level, right? Because there are levels of anxiety that are extremely healthy to have because it keeps you motivated, keeps you from sitting at the couch trying to manifest something without doing any motion and waiting for it to drop on the coffee table in front of you, right? Nothing's going to change there. So what we're saying is it takes a lot of active participation on your part to say, I'm okay. You can tell me that is what's going on in my life today, but I'm not going to accept it going forward. What can we do to make it go away? Like I don't want to mask it. I don't want to cover it up. Like your whiplash. You could have very easily be coming here today with an opiate addiction story, right? Because most people do with chronic pain. They show up with this, opiate addiction story, and then the horrors of that withdrawal and the lifelong battle of having to combat those receptors in the brain that are saying you need this, and you're in pain and you're really not. And so I know you rely on some very specific things to help you with your pain and discomfort and inflammation. How about we touch on a few of those so that we can move into the good stuff, which is the mindset and that, that really positive emotional stance. And I'll share some of mine, as well.
I love this part. This part is the fun part. All the talking about the past. One thing is that I don't give energy and I don't have any emotion about that past. That's another healing piece that had to happen. And when I did some personal development training back in the 80s, I started a company called the Actors Institute. And it wasn't just for actors, it was for human beings who wanted to discover themselves as the source of their own creativity, meaning everything that we attract in our life. We somehow, and I know some people could argue this and say, well, I didn't attract cancer, but I know that, I understand that on some level that we could believe that, but there are some theories that I have witnessed in my life about the mindset piece in the healing journey of even cancer patients. I've witnessed it over and over and over. So no matter what you have to end up doing, whether it's supplements, whether it's more relaxation time, whether it's self-care through just being out in nature and rushing up against the trees, whether it's laying on a beach, however you get there, it's like perfect. It's just perfect that you do it and that you do it consistently. Because one of the things that kept getting me in trouble, and if there's anybody listening today that has been re-injured or re-traumatized, I actually had PTSD from that car accident. I forgot to mention that. And I didn't even know what that was at 19, right? It manifested years later. And one of the products that I stumbled across back about 9-10 years ago, I had lived with the fear and the shame of having PTSD for 20 some years. I think I started to recognize it maybe in my late 20s, early 30s. And it wasn't until my late 40s or early 50s, actually, that I discovered an ingredient in Ayurvedic medicine called ashwagandha. And I took a product from the company. You know about ashwagandha.
I take it every day.
And the combination of the ashwagandha with an ingredient that helps elevate you at the mitochondrial level, it's a cell activator for energy. So having been injured as I was, there were days when I would just hit the wall and I would have to crash because I'd push too hard. And that was my nature, to always keep pushing and pushing. But when I started taking this little tea or beverage, you could have it cold or hot, and it was from a company I'm still working with called Alovea, I was blown away, Tricia. Like literally the first day I took it. So one of the manifestations of the PTSD, because I was injured on a bridge, it was like literally a car that spun out of control and plowed into me on a bridge here in Vancouver. Every time I went over a bridge, at that point, it was becoming unbearable. And I literally stopped driving. I had my husband just take over. I don't even think I told him. And I just lived with this private, freaking out about what was happening to me, that I couldn't go over a bridge without having a major panic attack. So the first day I took that little beverage, I went out to visit a friend who's about an hour drive out of the city, and it was raining, which is never good because my accident also happened in a very dark, rainy night. I had to go through several bridges and a tunnel. And when I came home, I was amazed how my body and my brain just connected into this very calm place. Now, whether it was placebo, because I believed this would help, or it really did do what it needed to do. But from that day forward, I never once had a panic attack again. Not once.
I want to make sure to tell everybody and I want to make sure that you also drop a link. Like this product that she's talking about, like I've read the literature about it and I've looked into it. I know ashwagandha to be amazing. And then this other element that she's referring to. I just want you guys to know, like, as soon as I'm done with my inventory of the ashwagandha that I have, when it's time for me to, to restock, I have all intentions of utilizing this product because I believe that it will be the right thing for me. And of course, there will be the trial, right? Like it'll be that trial, but I believe that it'll be the right thing for me because of the things that it'll do on top of what ashwagandha can do all by itself with regards to some of that pain, the tension, and that whole mind-body connection of being able to, because when we're tense or fearful, like everything just, nothing's in alignment and things aren't, the attentions, our brain is throwing attentions in the wrong way.
Yep.
And so I just want you guys to know, like, this is something that I've looked at and do find value in, have not tried yet, but have complete intentions of. And so Marcy will drop this into the chat. And because I forgot to mention this at the beginning, if you're watching live and you're on Facebook and you've put something, a comment or a message or something into the comment area, I don't make that live while we're actually talking because it's a distraction. And we want to give you as many tidbits as we can in a short amount of time. But we will be coming to the Facebook page and answering questions afterwards, or you can just send us direct messages. Marcy's going to be dropping her contact information in the chat, and you can ask her directly. You can ask me directly, whatever. So we are there. So Marcy, you've found other products also that you've now, like me, guys, with the Epicure, right? Like I've become an Epicure consultant because I believe in their whole food products, because I believe that all of the additives and preservatives and the things that we can't pronounce actually cause us more harm than we know we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that if I'm honoring my body and I want to decrease things like pain, inflammation, and increase clarity and focus and tenacity and drive and determination, and to really be able to sit in my faith, like I believe I have to put quality ingredients in my body. So this is why I, am an Epicure consultant, along with, the fact that a lot of people have social anxiety or just pressure anxiety, don't know what to buy at the store, don't know how to, put, I don't know, a recipe together. And so, we have things like meal planning, meal prep directions, as well as shopping lists. So anyway, but much like me with the Epicure, you have other organizations that you're affiliated with because you have seen the benefit and the usefulness for it in your own life. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's so much to say about that. When I look back on my journey from like literally 9-10 years ago, when I hit the wall because I was re-injured, and it was to the point where I'm a chef, trained and been cooking professionally for years, and I overdid this cooking, as I mentioned, and I ended up with C7 compressed disc, and I ended up with numbness in my hand. I couldn't hold my chef knife, so I hit depression, anxiety. I still had the PTSD. And this is a person who considered herself superwoman, unstoppable, but I was stopped. So when life throws you lemons, you can either, whine and go to bed and hope it goes away, or you make lemonade. And I decided, there was a day, and I remember that moment when I said, my life will not be this. I will not be a victim. And way back to the personal development training, Tricia, it all comes with the mindset. The beginning of this has to be with the mindset, because I can tell everybody, go take ashwagandha, go take my beet pills for inflammation, go take CBD, all of these great things. But I will tell you, it won't work.
Nope.
People that have not truly embraced their journey for healing, they'll find every reason to not afford it. And believe me, I know, because it can be expensive to buy good, healthy food and keep on a track with that. It can be expensive to buy quality CBD and quality nutritional support. But what is the cost if you are living a life that's just not a life? So I truly decided then and there that whatever it took, if I had to become a rep so I could earn these products for free, believe me, I was motivated. I needed these products. However, and some people don't want to join a network marketing company, and fair enough, you have another job or a business. But if you could just get the products you need for your body and the support and the community. So with Cannaway, the CBD company that is not just CBD anymore, we're Cannabis, non-THC, for sleep. I have no idea how many people I have talked to in the last year who are not sleeping. It's in the hundreds, probably.
Oh, yeah.
And it really is a problem, because when you talk about recovery, Tricia, one of the most important things. I mean, you can eat garbage food for quite a while before you'll pay a heavy duty price, unless you have a super sensitive system like me. That's different. But a lot of people can get away with eating not even garbage food, but just less than. But you go one night without sleep, one night without quality sleep, and what happens the next day? You can't think, you can't produce any results. You're emotionally ruined for the day, probably. I mean, there's so many factors that are connected to having a clear, healthy, calm, focused mind that stem from a good sleep. So I taught about sleep 25 years ago, and I remember people looking at me like I was crazy in those days with the magnetic products. But with CBD, it's now known. The proven science is out there. We can address so many issues that before CBD was legalized in this country, and it is in Canada as well, we just didn't know this existed. And so if there are people out there curious about what are the different cannabinoids that can help you with whether it's anxiety, mood, sleep, pain, all the different, appetite, everything is connected in our cells, speak to each other. And when CBD, the right kind of quality premium CBD product grown in good soil, is in your body, it just helps that process. It creates homeostasis. So I'm a believer now. For a year.
I just want to put a pin really quick because you said a lot of really important things. Because, and y'all are you ready for this? Because you already know this. You hear me say it all the time. Even if we're reaching to something outside of ourselves to bring us peace, comfort, joy, relief, whatever it is, even if it's healthy, and even if it's one of the things that we're saying here, these are the things that worked well for us. It only worked well for us because of exactly what you said. We were willing to do the work emotionally, because that doesn't make PTSD go away. That doesn't make, because I lived in a lot of trauma, right? And so anyway, y'all know that already. So, it doesn't make those things go away. It doesn't change that negative internal dialogue that says my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, my opinions, my beliefs, needs, wants, dreams, desires aren't seen as value, holding any value, and aren't valid, right? I feel dismissed. I feel disposable in my life. None of these things that, when we get into those depressive states, what we're really doing is we're carrying around this big bag of wallow, ruminate, and languish, right? Like it's all brr. Why me? I'm sick. I have this. I'm labeled with that. This happened to me. And that's what depression is. And it's this big old heavy weight of garbage that if you're not willing to unpack, weed through, throw things away, take the learning experience and make it a win, whatever we got to do with it. But, get a coach, get a trusted provider, get somebody to help you actually let go of that stuff, as well as the future tripping, anxiety inducing, whatever mental reels and loops that you have going on that are like, if only I could have one day pain-free, if only I could have, one night of sleep. And you start doing things that are very simple, setting your day up with an effective intention. And I'm talking effective, not in how much you can produce or do, but in the way that you see it, the way that you experience the day, the way that you see yourself moving through it, like having an intention that is very purposeful. So we start our day there, and we do check-ins often, like every 2 hours, check in with yourself right here, right now. My core non-physical feeling is what? Excited, elated, stressed, whatever it might be, and turn it around before it spirals and takes over. And then at night, you've got to do your night hygiene. What went well today? Why? How can I capitalize on that? How can I keep the momentum going? How can I utilize it in some of these things down here that, what didn't go as well as I had hoped? How can I pull some things in there and tweak it? And then what didn't work at all? Great, let's take a look at it. Let's know why it didn't work so we don't do the definition of insanity and keep doing the things over and over again. And let's throw it away. And now I can quiet those mental reels. Do a thought log if you have to, and do a mind dump. Get all of the rhetoric out of your head. Write anything that you say to yourself. Oh, I got to remember this. I can't forget that. You put it down on a piece of paper. Then that's when you utilize the CBD or whatever for sleep, right? And because you've cleared your mind, and now when you do that, you're going to have good dreams. You're going to have restful sleep, because we go, even if we use this, these products to help us sleep better, and our mind is still cluttered, it's only taken us halfway. It's a half measure, if you will, which is the same with the ashwagandha. If we're utilizing it to help us with anxiety and pain with that other product, right? And I keep forgetting the name of it. Sorry. It'll be in there.
Limitless.
But if we're using the ashwagandha to help us with stress and anxiety, but we're not doing anything to reduce the stress and anxiety, all we're saying is, I'm going to take something to mask it. So that's no different than having a glass of wine because you're pissed off, or a bucket of ice cream because you're sad. It's no different. Like, you've got to be in that healing mindset so that emotionally you can achieve and attain all new heights and levels of stability.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the mindset's everything, in my opinion. When I do work with clients that say have a label like a fibromyalgia, and I see results with some of those people that are beyond whatever I could have expected, it's because they were ready. They were absolutely done. Like, I hit that place, Tricia, 10 years ago when I said, this is not acceptable. I am not going to live this life. I was literally days away from contacting the government to get on disability. And
Right.
that destroyed me. The thought that I would be one of those people that could not live a quality of life and not work anymore and not do what I love, write and cook. I mean, that was just not acceptable. So I think you don't have to wait for that moment to hit. You can decide any moment, every day, I'm going to do better today. Not that I did bad yesterday, just what can I do better? And I will say one other thing about the personal development training that I did for 6 years. I facilitated workshops, and it was all about manifesting what you wanted in your life and getting out of your way and removing self-limiting beliefs. And I think one of the biggest ones for a lot of us, and I think especially women, is that we're not enough, that we don't have it within us to battle these demons, whatever they may be. And what I want to say to everybody listening today, you have everything. You've been given everything. It's now up to us. What are we going to do with that? Are we going to take it on? And no excuses. Like, you can't tell me that I can't help somebody who's ready and willing. You just can't tell me that, because I already have proven it. But if I am up against somebody who has this lingering belief that they have this disease and that they've been diagnosed with this, and no matter what I give them, number one, their body won't accept the nutrients. It really won't. And if you have inflammation in your body and you just want to do a shortcut and put good nutrients in to an inflamed body, that's not going to work either. There's no shortcut to this absolutely vibrant life. We have to do the learning and the lessons and the discipline. And I can't give people a magic bullet. You can't just take that drink and feel better. It's just not going to work. Well, I think that was the case.
And that's, I think, the key point, right? So when, if somebody says to me, I will win, I'm like, okay, let me ask you, how much is it going to cost you to wait until who knows when? And a lot of times, they don't have an answer. And that just says to me, it's basically, somebody saying, I can't right now. Okay. So what you're telling me is you won't right now. And that's fine. Right. Like, so it's, you can only meet them, so far. And because I'll tell you, and I know this for myself in my own journey, until you're done, you're not done. Right. And so when I became done with everything that I've recovered with, right? Like, my journey's 30 years long as far as with, processed behavioral chemical addictions, trauma, all of those things. It's a 30-year long story with 25 years of overlapping recovery, because for me, I had to be ready for each one to recover. And so even though I might have dabbled with recovering from something at one point and then went back, that means I wasn't truly ready, because everything that I was ready to remove from my life when I started the journey is removed from my life. We do recover. Regardless of your belief, we do recover if we're doing it from a stance of I'm ready to recover. I'm done with this, that, or the other thing. And that can be pain. It can be pain. That doesn't mean like, you can, I mean, I do frequently. In fact, I just told my GP this yesterday. I said, he asked, they always ask me, how's your pain today? And I'm like, I just tossed out a number, right? Like I tossed down a 4. And they're like, what's changed? I said, how I score my pain on my pain threshold. Like if I tell myself it's a 10, it's going to be a 10. If I tell myself it's a 4, then that's what becomes a 4. And that's a, real light way of putting it. But I do that work on a daily basis, right? Like depending on how much, so when it's a 10, my family generally knows like, like she's at a bad spot, because that means I need to lay down for a few days, right? Like I really am, I'm in a spot where I need to lay down for a few days or really go slow. But generally speaking, if I just get like a really low number and I'm like, you know what? How much can I tolerate this? How much am I really going to let it get in my way? How much am I going to allow it to stop me from enjoying my day? How much am I going to allow it for me showing up as the person I want to see myself as, not what anybody else needs from me, what I need from me. And so it's constantly, the 8s have become 6s, and then those 6s have become, whatever. And I just keep adjusting that pain threshold. And I'm like you, I don't take pain meds unless it's like, and then at most it's Motrin, right? At most, nothing else. If I'm feeling inflamed, I go, okay, no sugar, no salts, no bread, no pasta, no nightshades, no, whatever. I have a resting. I know how to do a resting to allow my body to naturally de-inflame itself, just through things that are provided to us from the earth.
Oh, right? the food that one can eat to reduce inflammation. That's such an important piece too, because if we knew that our food that we were ingesting every day was grown fresh and good soil and it was not contaminated with herbicides and pesticides and all the rest of it, that would be great. But I happen to know that studies show very clearly that the food we're eating today, like an orange has you'd have to eat 9 times the amount of oranges to get the vitamin C content that you would have 50 years ago. And that's unfortunate that our food industry has really corrupted itself. And we could go on and on about that one, but I won't. So
but yeah, that's a different show.
That's a different topic. But the solution is that if that's the case, and yes, I do eat an anti-inflammatory diet as well. When you said that, it reminded me that, some people will tell me, Marcy, I really want to lose that 50 pounds, but they don't want to give up their wine and they don't want to give up their sugar. And I'm like, you're not done yet. You're not really unhappy with that 50 pounds. You've settled to a place where you can justify that it's okay. And that, why do I have to look like a model? I'm 55 or whatever the story we tell ourselves. So that's also the mindset piece. Is it's not about proving it to anyone else. It's not about doing it for some other person or a society. It's about how you feel. Because if 50 pounds overweight feels great for you and you hold it and you carry it, I don't have a problem with it. But if you're beating yourself up.
Bikini ready. People come to me and they're like, I got to get bikini ready. I'm like, well, let's go to Target. They have bikinis on sale year round. And I'm pretty sure they have your size. Be more specific. Be more specific. And then you got to know your why. Why is that important to you? Right? Like, because if it's relying on, like if it's looking for that external validation, so that you can feel good about your body because somebody's going to tell you, oh, you're ripped or you're that or da, 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 da. now there is that piece, because sure, I'm getting ready to go on a summer vacation as well. And sure, if I want to stay in a good psychological headspace with myself based on my relationship with myself and my past history, right? Like I have to have those conversations about what are the things that I'm going to say to myself when I put my bathing suit on? What is it that I'm not paying attention to that I could pay attention to so that I feel good? But I don't go, oh my God, I'm going on a diet. I got to lose 10 pounds and I'm going to obsessively do setups every day between now and then, because everything that I do has to be lifelong, manageable, and maintainable. Whether I shift it or not, later is two totally different things. But it has to be mindful. It has to be purposeful. It has to be productive. It has to all be in the name of me seeing myself in the light that I want to see myself, without pressure to perform to somebody else's standards.
Yeah. And
anyway,
also another piece to that is to let go of any shame around it too, because if I eat a piece of cheesecake, I'm just going to enjoy the heck out of that cheesecake. Come on.
Having it. Bring it on.
When I say people might not be willing to give up sugar, I don't mean forever. I mean, to get your body back into balance, once you've hit that place where you no longer crave sugar, guess what? You're going to be craving broccoli and you're going to go, what the heck's going on here? But it happens. It happened to me several times it actually
happens because I've heard this, and I'm not going to do it justice, but our bodies crave sugar, such as ice cream, right? Because we're lacking calcium. So when we're craving that ice cream, if we were to eat broccoli, we would actually stop the craving. So, and again, I didn't do justice by the study because I don't even have access to the specific study, but a mentor of mine actually shared the information with me in a learning situation. So I have the notes somewhere. But anyway, I found that to be so amazing, but it's not, our sugar attachment isn't always exactly what we think it is. There's multi-layers to that. And we have so much that I think we could fill so much space. And I know you and I off camera, off recording, we always do. We always have to go, oh shoot, we've got this next thing. And so hopefully, you'll be back, again, so that we can touch on, some more specifics. But I love that you came to share with everybody, like we don't know what we're doing to our bodies until we learn what we're doing to our bodies. And then to see that, there are people out there that, like you and I, who are active participants in our recovery, in our health, mind, body, spirit. And that, really all they have to do is engage. So Marcy, you had said that you would drop your information in there. Everybody, check it out. There's some really great products. Ask her, reach out and connect with Marcy and ask her to specifically explain to you the different things and how they can help. Give her a little bit of background story so that she can, so you're not just going, oh, well, this is the one that we're talking about. Because she might be able, because her and I had that same conversation. She's like, no. It's not this one that I think is going to be best for you. It's going to be that one. And then when I was reading about it, I was like, oh, okay. And vice versa, like we've had a lot of conversations about some of the different things that we do at Turning Leaves and in my practice that Marcy's been able to, cross associate. So we're both going to put in our contact information. Yep. Y'all know that you can just send me a DM, a text message, or get on the calendar and book some time. But I'm going to put that information there for anybody that might be new. The same extends to you. And just know that we're back here every Wednesday at noon. Next week, we are going to be putting out a special treat for you because it's very fitting and very suitable for right before the holidays. So I hope that you enjoy that. If you would like to share this, you can do that on Facebook, or you can wait till probably later tonight or tomorrow. It'll probably, for sure tomorrow, it'll be available on YouTube. So, if you know of somebody that might be struggling with something that is, that could use or benefit a recovery process from, feel free. Send the links out. We're down to help people whether they're here with us live or not. So, Marcy, I'll let you say your goodbyes, and then I've got to skedaddle.
Yeah, you've got a busy day, gal. So do I. Well, it's been a pleasure to always chat with you, and we could go on and on and on for days, I'm sure. So as she mentioned, I'll put my info in, and I'm also open to do a free half-hour consult with anyone. Just reach out to me, and we'll have a discussion and explore what, if I have anything that could help you. That's what I'm about. I may not, but it would be great to find out if I do have something.
Right. You are amazing. Thank you so much. I look forward to the next time. And oh, thanks for having me on Clubhouse today. That was great.
That was awesome.
Anyway, we do need to wrap up. So I'm going to stop the live now. Say goodbye to everybody.